Hello everyone, and welcome to another Liverpool Transfer Show on Football Talk Podcast. My name is Ozzy, and I'm your host for this evening. I've taken a couple of days off to spend time with family and friends, and it's the curse of being a content creator at times because during the week there wasn't much developments happening, and then all of a sudden on Friday and yesterday we got some further updates that could indicate that deals are on the verge of being completed. So no better time to start, and let's speak about the first rumor, which, yeah, every show is going to be about this player, until we officially sign him, and that is Alexander Isak. So, just to paint a picture in terms of what's happened in the last couple of days, Liverpool placed a bid of around 120 million pounds. I think it was including add-ons, which got rejected by Newcastle. Now, some rival fans started laughing because our bid didn't get accepted and assumed that we're just going to pack our bags and not continue any further talks. Well, that's what they want, of course, being rivals, but that's definitely not going to happen. Uh, you think after everything that has happened in the last 2 3 weeks, we're just going to walk away after one hurdle? Of course not. There is going to be a second bid. I'd say in the next few days, so it's pretty much expected now. Um, I think we're probably just allowing Newcastle to finalize their replacements. I think they're signing more than one striker. Uh, that way, they'll be able to sign a striker without an inflated price because of the revenue that they will receive from the Isak deal. So it's only a matter of time, in my opinion. But I really hope that, you know, in terms of from a Newcastle point of view, they get their deals done very quickly. There's no point of us being the big bro all the time where we're waiting for them to get things done. We've got things to sort out. We need to get Isak. Plus, we've got other players to get through the door as well. So let's see. When that bid comes, I would say will probably come in the next few days. Um, and also, yesterday it was reported that Isak has been requested to return to Newcastle and start training. I don't know if he has trained today, uh, and I'm not sure if he'll be permitted to train tomorrow. It's a decision that they'll have to make internally, but I'm sure we'll get some sort of news, especially tomorrow morning, where if he's been asked to train by himself or not attend training, then it would also present the possibility of this still happening sooner rather than later. So, how do I see this playing out? In all honesty, I'm expecting Newcastle to find their Isak replacement first in the coming days. And once that deal is done, then I expect a second bid to come in from Liverpool in the next 2 3 days. And I think that bid, if I'm trying to be Mystic Oz right now, I think that second bid will be the one that gets the deal over the line. I'm not surprised that the initial bid got rejected. That's always going to be something where you test the waters. You never bid high when it comes to negotiations. So it was always going to be where we bidded a substantial offer. It was still would have broken the British record. Of course, Newcastle want to try and get as much as possible. They pretty much labeled the price tag as 150 million pounds, which is crazy to even suggest that. But having said that, I don't think it'll be too far apart. Apparently, the transfer fee or the deal that we're trying to conclude is roughly 130 million plus add-ons that equals to 140. So it's not too far off. But I know Liverpool fans will ask the question, is he worth that money? 140 million pounds is a lot of money. But look, I'll be brutally honest, and I don't want to sound blunt when I say this. It's not our money. So if my club have identified a player and they believe he's good enough to, come into a club, but also we have the funds available to purchase that player, then I'm just waiting for that player to join the club because fans will always have that debate. Oh, it's too expensive. We've paid over the odds, but Isak for me is one of the best strikers in world football right now. Not just the Premier League, I think in Europe he's one of the most lethal finishers. So we're definitely in the market for him. We've earmarked him as one of our prime targets. So there's no point of thinking too much about the fee. As long as the player comes over, then that's all I care about. So for me, we're on the table, we're willing to spend big, and that should be a positive sign. That should, encourage us local fans. And look, we mean business when it comes to spending this summer. And I genuinely believe that the deal will be agreed very, very soon. And we're just giving Newcastle some leeway or some free time to finalize their deals because they struggled. Let's be honest. And plus, of course, in terms of the background dynamics, you've got Eddie Howe and Richard Hughes are good friends from their time at Bournemouth. So maybe we're just trying to, look out for him, one friend looking out for another, in that sort of form. So I'm pretty certain that we'll get some official news coming in the coming week. And I am going to make a bold prediction. I believe Isak will start his first game for Liverpool against Bournemouth, which is the opening day of the season. So drop a comment and let me know what you think. How do you see this panning out? I feel like we're going to get some sort of conclusion next week, and then it should be where Isak is ready to train and ready to start for the Premier League champions on the opening day of the season. So that's my bold prediction there. Before we move on, I'm just going to go through some of the comments. Um, Spirit of LFC fans says, big up Aussie and chat, smash the like and subscribe. Be on yourself. Thank you so much. AR says, hi Aussie and chat, assalamu alaikum. Welcome to AR. He says, how are you? Like, comment, share, and subscribe. You'll never walk on. Be on yourself, AR. I'm good, thank you. Hope you're doing well. Hooks 19 said, I thought it would be 120 in cash and added ons to 125.40. There's no real clarity in terms of what it could be. At the moment, it's definitely going to be around, I think, from the last I had, I think it was 120, 130 plus 10. That equals to 140. But I think the collective deal will be where it ends up being 140 in total. So it might be like what you said, 120 plus add-ons or 130 plus add-ons. But I think the total, including add-ons, will be 140 altogether. So I think that's the kind of ballpark in terms of what the complete deal will be. Of course, fans will always take that price and use it against the rival fans that, oh, you paid 140 million. But the thing is, those clauses aren't activated once things are achieved, i.e., appearances, goals, assists, individual trophies, team trophies. So there's a lot more involved in order to get the maximum amount there. And of course, there might be sell-on clauses and all that sort of stuff involved as well. So I think it'll be 120, 130, and then from there on we'll conclude the deal. So for me personally, I'm not too fussed in terms of what the deal is or how much we end up paying for Isak. But all I care right now, we get the man through the door because the way we've moved in this window, like he's the cherry on top. That is a sign where I feel like Riot fans will have to admit defeat before the season's even begun. That's how I feel about it. So yeah, only time will tell. I'm very confident that this deal will happen. It's. I feel like it's gone fast so much now. It has to be concluded at some point. I just don't want it to be where it's in the final week of the window. I'd rather it be where it's next week. Newcastle can get their man, which apparently is Benjamin Sesko, which we'll talk about very shortly as well. And they're able to get Wissa as well. I think that's the second striker that they've identified. So yeah, it's only a matter of time that we get Arde over there, and then they can continue their business and see whoever they want to add because they will definitely add more players to their squad. It's not just a striker or two strikers they need. They need a defender and then possibly another midfielder as well. So they've got a lot of work to do for the last 2, 3, no, about just under 4 weeks. They've got until end of this month. So yeah, I'm confident Liverpool will get a deal done. Yeah, says Isak needs to be match fit. Oh, he's not injured. That's just a PR stunt move from Newcastle to try and he's the Newcastle fans. Oh, he's training by himself. He's got a thigh injury. He'll be okay. That's why he's just under rehabilitation. With individual coaches. It was nothing like that. He basically went AWOL. He was unsettled. Didn't want to be a part of the mix. That's why his training is on. So he'll be match fit for next season. And that's one thing that has been a big talking point about Isak. And I feel like a lot of fans during the last few months, maybe during the course of last season, weren't completely on board with Isak because of his injury records over the years. But the thing is, in the last year or two, it's not been that bad. Like, yes, he's picked up injuries, little injuries here and there, but it hasn't been long-term injuries where he's had 2, 3 month layoffs. He might have been out for like 2, 3 weeks and then he returns. I think as Liverpool fans, we've been spoilt over the years because we've had the likes of Van Dijk, Mohamed Salah, who are machines. They barely get injured. So when you've got players like that, you automatically assume everyone should be like that when they come through the door. But that is not the case. But on the flip side, we've also got Ekitike. So if Isak's not around, Ekitike is a more than adequate requirement, or should I say, a replacement for Isak in the lineup. So that's something I don't feel a lot of fans have thought about. You know, we got Ekitike as well. He can play together with Isak in the team, whether it's a bit more of a wider role, but he can still play, you know, in a like for like position, or he can play alongside him. So we've got great strength in depth in that striker role, which for me was a problem position, I would say, before the window had opened. But I feel like Liverpool are on the verge of addressing it. No, I don't want to get too far ahead, but I feel like the Isak move's happening. So that's why, I'm speaking in present terms that it's going to happen. So I think with Isak and Ekitike as your two strikers, it's the perfect mix. You've got one who's the guy right now, and one that's on the verge of being the guy, for years to come. So Liverpool have done some great recruitment, to say the least. Bo says, G, big up yourself, Bo. Hope you're good. Ozan Kabak says, big up the man, Ozzy. Big up Ozan Kabak. Hope you're doing well. Hooks19 says, like to see him first game, but is Slot a cautious man with the limited preseason of Isak being taken into account? Potentially. That's fine. If he doesn't start Bournemouth, then he can start against Newcastle, which is on the 25th. So that's our second fixture, I believe, on a Monday night. So if he's not fit for that, he'll be fit for that occasion. And yeah, if he does end up starting that game, wow, fireworks is an understatement. It's going to be wildfire everywhere we go. I think it's at Newcastle. Let me just double check. I think it's at St James Park, which would be even more chaotic if that was the case. Yes, it is. It's at St James's Park on the 25th of August. So I don't know. We might have to let him stay at Liverpool on that one, but I think he'll thrive on that sort of scenario or that sort of atmosphere because some players it spurs him on. I feel like Isak seems to be that character where he'll like that kind of underdog mentality where if people are booing him, I think it's going to spur him on to really go at the and opposition, which is actually his current club. So yeah, should be interesting. But that's my prediction. I think we'll get the deal done next week, and hopefully he'll be in line to start or to be involved to an extent, as in he'll make his debut against Bournemouth. But I think he'll start. That's my prediction there. Ozan Kabak said it looks like Al Hilal is very serious as well as about landing Darwin Nunez. We'll speak about Darwin Nunez and Al Hilal very shortly, Ozan. Hooks 19 says it's got to be this bid or the next. I think so. I think we'll get it done soon, to be honest with you. I don't think it will be where we have to wait too long. We've made the first bid. That's always been the big thing. Oh, are Liverpool serious? Are they going to make that bid? We made that bid. So it's only a matter of time that we understand what their requirements are and then we'll match that. So I think next week we'll get some sort of clarification. Ozzy Kawat says, how much do you think FSG accept for Darwin knowing the SB has deep, deep pockets? Honestly, I hope we're going for like 70 million because that should be the range we could get, I think, for Darwin Nunez. And I think with Darwin Nunez as well, he's a player I think that would do really well there. It's a lead that's not going to be, too intense for him or the physicality is going to be crazy. He's going to go in there and then banging the goals, in my opinion. So I feel like we can always just use his recent performance in terms of the last season. Visually, of course, we know he's missed a few howlers here and there, but statistics wise, he's still got a very good stats in the Liverpool shirt. So that's a selling point. And then we can, you can see when he plays for Uruguay, he's a different player. So he's in confidence, he's a player that can really deliver. So I think 70 million should be the right amount that FSU will take. I think the minimum will take is 50. And I think that was the Europe price, 50 million. But the Saudi price is 70 million because we know they can afford to splash the cash a bit more. So um, I'd say around that rate, 50 to 70 million. And I think I'll be pleased with that, to be honest with you, considering how long it's kind of evolving now into that deal being done. 50, 70 sounds about right. But if it's Saudi, I think we should be able to get 70 million pounds. Um, AR says Allison, so he's named the squad here. So Allison, Kirkes, Van Dijk, Konate, Bradley, Grabs, Szoboszlai, Verts, Gakpo, Ekitike, Salah. And then bench, you got Mama, Woodman, Gomez, Robo, Frimpong, Endo, Jones, Maka, Dance, Rio, and Nioni. We need two centre backs, Winger and Isak Gomez, always injured. Yeah, that's a good point. In terms of Gomez being injured. I would love for it to be two centre backs AR, but I'm not sure if the club will do that. I think we'll end up signing one, but it will be someone like Gay, who's a very high quality centre back. So I think that will be the man that comes through. And I think maybe next year is where we sign a second centre back, if that makes sense. The winger, on paper, yes, we should definitely sign a winger that is replacing Diaz in the squad. Whether we do or not, I'm not sure. I feel like we will, to be honest with you, but I don't think it's a priority right now. I think for Liverpool, the priority is to get the Isak deal done first because we're in the mix of that discussion, and then move over to Guehi and then finalize that attacker in the squad as well. And I feel like once we have that, pretty much got the complete squad, if I'm being honest. So yeah, onwards and upwards from there onwards. AR said we need to upload Simicast. Simicast, yeah, I think it will depend if we get interest on him, but yeah, possibility. Reece Williams, yeah, he should be long gone. I don't know how much we'll get for him. Richard Hughes did amazing in terms of getting some money for Nathaniel Phillips. So if you can do another miracle, then maybe we'll get at least 1 million of that. But I'm not really expecting anything from that deal. Calvin Ramsey, expect him to go out on loan only because he's not been available in recent times. So he needs to get a loan spell to at least get fit and then showcase his talent. Because right now, if he's at Liverpool, he's not going to get any game time. He'll probably be third or fourth choice. So no point of keeping him. Elliot, I've got a question mark on Elliot. I have a feeling he might stay, but I could be wrong. Morton, we'll speak about during the show because he's on the verge of leaving the club. Dog, I think he could be sold if we get the right offer. Chiesa, I expect Chiesa to leave at some point. He's generating a lot of interest from Syria, so I expect him to leave soon. And Nunez, who we'll speak about very shortly as well. Um, then come said, did you see the rumors of Rodrygo linked to Spurs? Oh, please no. Do you know what's funny about that rumor? I think it was circulating early afternoon. I think it was on Wednesday or Thursday. And then the same evening, just before I was doing the show, the his camp dismissed it, saying, "Oh, we want to move to a bigger club." So, yeah, we don't have to worry about Tottenham in that regards. But of course, you're thinking now maybe that could have been a signing for Tottenham because Heung-min Son is leaving, so they need someone that is the left winger in their team. And they could have sold the project where they were like, "Oh, you're going to be the main guy that replaces one of our legends." But I don't think that would have been the move he'd gone for because Tottenham aren't a team that are consistently in the Champions League, so I think that's the kind of caliber of a team he wants to join, where he knows they're fighting for major honours, on a annual basis, not here and there. Of course, Tottenham are in the Champions League next season, but are they going to qualify again? Possibly. I think they have a great chance of breaking into the top four next season. But as a consistent sort of team, we're not sure what to get with Tottenham, and Tottenham fans don't know themselves at times. So yeah, I don't see there being any sort of truth to that rumor. But you never know. If he's desperate to leave and Liverpool don't come in, then he might just go on loan, for example, and then take it from there. AS says preseason games: Liverpool versus Atletico Bilbao at 5 p.m. and 8 p.m. tomorrow. That is correct. So I'll be doing a watch along for both matches tomorrow. So if you'd like to join in and be part of the show, feel free to join us. And we'll start from 5 to 5 with the first match. Then we'll take a short break and then we'll go into the second match as well. So yeah, feel free to get involved in the chat. It's an open platform so anyone can, have a discussion about football, Liverpool transfers whilst watching the game. Everything is an open platform for you guys. So yeah, feel free to join and get involved. Hooks 19 said he needs to be fighting fit as everyone is going to try and rough him up. Yeah, that's a good point there. AR says Liverpool fixtures, Crystal Palace, Charity Shield. That's next Sunday, isn't it? I believe so. Yep. And then we've got Bournemouth, Newcastle, Arsenal, Burnley, and Everton. So looking forward to the Newcastle one because that's definitely going to have some fire to that. And then Arsenal as well. And then we'll see where we are in terms of our trajectory. And also, we'll see how Arsenal do because they're making a lot of noise. I don't know why they're making noise because they have signed some decent players here and there, but nothing in comparison to what Liverpool did. I don't think we're matched in terms of the transfer window we're having, the type of players we're signing. And currently, our squad is by far better than everyone else's in the league. So, not me being biased, I'm literally just saying how it is. So, yeah, very intrigued to see that fixture coming up. Answer, did you buy the home or away kit? I haven't yet, but I do plan on buying it soon. I'm going to probably buy the home kit first. Maybe a bit of an unpopular opinion. The away kit, the white one, it looks nice. It's giving me a bit of Man United vibes. I don't know why. Maybe if I see it in person, it's different because I feel like when you're seeing shirts, branched around in social media, you're seeing it to certain angles, but maybe when you wear it, it feels a bit different. But the home kit, I love the home kit. It's reminiscent of the Fernando Torres and Joao kit we had all those years ago. So I've still got like I think I've worn it on my show a few times as well. So that's the kit that I really like, and I like the green one. It hasn't been unveiled yet. It will come out, I think, 1st of September. So I'm making sure I've got the funds to get both kits. So yeah, looking forward to purchasing those, and of course I'll be wearing them on the show as well. Hooks 19 says Saudi offered 100 million for Bruno. Is that in pounds? Bloody hell. Which club was that? Al Hilal? Because if that's the case, then why not? We can definitely try and milk them as much as possible. AI says we need two teams when we play 2 games a week. I think our squad is looking like that. Our squad looks like we've got 2 11s. And once we've, signed all our players, then I'll do a breakdown in terms of how the team is, but I also do a breakdown of all the other Premier League teams. Because I always like to do like a prediction show after the window closes so I can compare everyone's squad and kind of predict how people are gonna sort of play against each other. That's why last season I didn't think Arsenal had a better chance of finishing above us because I think we had the better squad, and then I you know, end up being true, isn't it, in the end? So yeah, very interesting to see how other teams address their squads and what additions they make. But by far, Liverpool won the transfer window, and Liverpool probably going to win more trophies coming up. So yeah, that's definitely it. Ozzy Kamara says 50 is low for me, bro, but not my money, innit? It is low. Do you know what? You're right, Ozzy Kamara. It is low. But I feel like because we've had that ballpark figure of 70, 80 million pounds, everyone's just kind of scared of that price. So they're walking away. So it's one of those of where like, oh look, come back. We'll talk business, and then you gotta just reduce the fee a little bit to kind of entice that negotiations. But once you're having those negotiations, you can up the fee a little bit. Say, look, there's 2, 3 other clubs. First we think Al Hilal, we're like, oh look, Al Nassr, they want a striker. Al Ahly, they want a striker. So you've got to pay over the odds. You got to give us 70, rather than 50 or 60, and maybe that's the negotiation tactic where we keep upping the price and we get the figure that we primarily wanted, which was around 70, 80 million. So 50 is me trying to be modest. Like I think because we're getting Isak and we've got Ekitike at the club now, I'm not too concerned about the fee of Darwin because I feel like initially we all thought the sale of Diaz and Darwin Nunez will facilitate those moves, but it looks like Liverpool are moving ahead without those moves being facilitated. But also, Liverpool are making a lot of money with sales right now, so we'll eventually balance the books. And of course, with our new sponsorship with Adidas and all the sort of winnings that we did last year in terms of winning titles in terms of Premier League and getting to the further stages of the Champions League and other cups, you know, we've got enough revenue to kind of make sure that we're in a good position financially, and then we can go on and pay the salaries that the players are asking for, but also be ready for next summer as well, where we have the funds to go again and sign 1 or 2 superstars if we wanted to. So I think, with the Nunes deal, if we get at least 50, I'll be happy. Not happy, happy is a bit strong. I'll be satisfied that, look, we've sold the player, no sort of issues or any grudges there, but I feel like it's time for us to move on. And look, we've got to look at the new strike force in terms of Ekitike and Isak, and then that, and we'll see the levels. That's what I'll say for sure. We'll see the levels, and then people realize, oh, I see why Nunes got so much hate or he got so much criticism because he's not like Ekitike. He's not nowhere near Ekitike or Isak. So we got show the levels now. So hopefully, we can do that in due course. Hooks 90 says that seems like a logical strategy to have 2 teams. I think that's already in place because we always have these debates amongst us fans that oh, maybe he's too good to be on the bench, all that sort of stuff. But I want our squad to compete for all cups. So we've got to have a second string or second team that is as strong as our first team, but also whenever anyone's injured, you can just place those players from the second. I say in quotes because they're not just backup players; they are players that are challenging for roles as well, and they are going to rotate at some point of the season. And because of that, you've got a very, very strong second 11. So our 25 will be very strong, in my opinion. So I'm excited for the season coming. I feel like we're so well equipped. It's just finding the next two, three pieces of the puzzle, i.e., your Isak and your Marc Guehi, and one more like a Rodrygo. Then, yeah, we're cooking next season for sure. Other comments says, Adama Lukman going to Inter means Chiesa is going to Atalanta, which means we really need to land Isak Ozzy. So the Atalanta one, I I'm not 100% sure if he'll go because I saw something earlier that they've already signed a player, which was the former Southampton winger, um, what's his name, Suleimana. So the Ghanaian winger. So they've already signed, and I think he's actually made their appearance quite recently. So I don't know if he's earmarked as the main sort of starter in that team, but he's definitely the same profile. Sulemana is a very attack-minded player, predominantly plays on the left side. So that would be a like-for-like replacement for Lookman, in my opinion. Uh, but who knows? Because Kaiser can play on the right, can play a bit more central. It might be where they want both players. So hopefully, you know, we get some sort of further development with Chiesa because right now I feel like he's in the dark. He doesn't know if he's staying or going. So it'll be good for him in terms of clarity, what's his next move. And also from us, from a Liverpool's point of view, we know, who's staying and who we can kind of add to our squad to make sure we've got the complete lineup there. So yeah, let's see what happens. Hooks 90 says great left foot. Simicast, yeah, he's got great delivery. He might end up staying, to be honest with you, only because this is not going to be a popular opinion, but I see Robertson being fifth choice centre back. So if we sign Marc Guehi and Gomez is out for the next 2, 3 months, for example, on paper, Robertson ends up being fourth choice. So that's why I feel like Simicast might end up staying, and then next year, he can part ways. So that's what I'm saying. But if we get a good offer of like 10 to 12, 15 million, then I think Liverpool will definitely listen and try and conclude a deal. But at this stage, it doesn't look like we're trying to force him out the door. Hooks 19 says should be red, yellow away, white red, white third, in my honest opinion. The yellow one, yeah, I get it. But I like it when Liverpool always have different colours of away kits, to be fair. The second one generally has been white in recent years. Um, I quite like to be fair. I quite like white to be fair, but the current one that we've got, it's a white top and it's black shorts and it's red, white, and it's got a black. So for me, that it just I don't know. It feels like it's a United kit. I feel like they've had a similar style before, only because they've been sponsored by Adidas for a number of years. So that shirt, yeah, I don't know. I'm really looking forward to the green one. 'Cause I feel like it's one of those outlandish kind of looks, but I quite like it at the same time. So yeah, looking forward to that one when it releases. Stewart's big up Stewart's. He says Gay, Rodrigo, and Isak needed regardless of who leaves. Oh, 100%. Isak comes in, you know, even if Nunes stays or not, Isak has to come through because we've gone that far. We're literally on the final hurdle. We just need to conclude that deal and bang, he should be our player. Gay, we need to replace Quanta. We haven't replaced him, so he definitely needs to come in. And Rodrigo comes in to replace Diaz. So we don't have to wait for sales or anyone to leave. Two players out of the three players that I've just mentioned, they've already left. So Nunes looks like he's on the verge of leaving. So therefore, these three players have to come in to replace the outgoing players. So yeah, I really hope all three come in. Um, well, yeah, we'll see how that happens. Hooks 19 says Nunes would have done well in Europe. Totally crazy no one is taking a chance on him given the higher market price and shortage. It's very true because his price isn't that crazy, like £50 million, you know, isn't crazy in terms of the current market. But having said that, the teams that showed the most interest were the Italian teams, and unfortunately, they don't really have the finances for that. So because of that. Unfortunately, we weren't able to get a deal done. They wanted a loan plus obligation to buy, which might have been the last resort, if I'm being honest with you, but I don't think it's what Liverpool wanted. So let's see. I think let's not forget Darwin is not an old player. He's 25, 26 years of age, so he can go there, play for a couple of years, and can return back to Europe at 28, where you're entering your prime years, technically as a striker. So still a possibility that he can return to Europe and fulfill his legacy or win trophies elsewhere. So I feel like for now, the best move for him is to go to Saudi because they'll be willing to offer him whatever he wants from a playing point of view, and also in terms of financially, he'll pretty much secure the bag and secure his family's future for generations. So it's that kind of wealth that he'll be earning. So yeah, I expect him to move this at some point. Mazzi, big up Mazzi says Ozzy looks like we will eventually get Isak. So what happens with Federico? I think Federico might leave. As sad as it is to say out loud, because I do like Federico. I think he's a great player. I just feel like he's not favoured by Arne Slot, and therefore, if the coach isn't, in favour of him or doesn't want to rely on him as an option for us next season, there's no point of him being here. So unfortunately, I think Chiesa will end up leaving this window. But yeah, let's see. 'Cause I don't expect Chiesa and Elliot to leave. I think it'll be one of the two. So that's why I feel like Federico will end up leaving, and then Elliot will stay for one more season. However, if someone places a big bid for Elliot, then I think we'll talk business. But I don't think we're trying to push him out of the door quite so aggressively, if that makes sense. So we'll see what happens. But yes, the Isak deal, hopefully it happens in due course. And speaking of the Isak deal, so Sesko, one of the reasons why I think the Isak deal will be finalized very soon, because in the turn of events, Newcastle are now the front runners to sign the striker. And Manchester United a few days ago thought they were going to get their man. They thought they were going to sign the Slovenian striker, but then all of a sudden, tables had switched, and Newcastle could be edging over Manchester United for the signature of Benjamin Sesko. Now, the only concern that Newcastle have right now is that they have placed a bid of 75 million euros, which is roughly 65 million pounds, plus 5 million euros, which is 4.3 million pounds. So just under 70 million bid, which unfortunately wasn't good enough for Red Bull Leipzig. Uh, but I mean, just like the Isak deal, I expect Newcastle to return with a second bid and hopefully seal the deal, because they've taken a very long time to try and find Isak's replacement. But I think it will happen in due course. So, in regards to this speculation, I'm glad from a footballing point of view that Sesko has picked Newcastle. Other than money being the reason why he was swayed to join Manchester United, I didn't understand the move. I think it would have been a terrible move for him. Of course, United are still a big club, but on the field, they've been nowhere near the level that they've shown in the last 20, 30 years, and then they're nowhere near competing for major honours. So Newcastle, on the other hand, are the team on the up, and I think they will be playing in the Champions League next season, but also they'll be challenging for domestic trophies as well. So I'm expecting Newcastle to sign Sesko very, very soon. And I think he'll be a decent replacement for Isak. Of course, you guys know my views on Sesko. I don't rate him very highly. I think he's a decent striker, still very raw, still has a lot of refinement in order to be regarded as a top striker. But for Newcastle, I think it's the right club, it's the right project for him. He still is able to play at the highest level, which is the Champions League. He's all coming over to one of the best leagues in the Premier League as well. Uh, he'll be playing for a very passionate fan base. So there's a lot of boxes that are being ticked here. So I think it's a good move for Sesko. Um, and let's be honest, there aren't many strikers available in this current market. So he would probably be the best option available. But also, before we move on to the next room, a shout out to Uncle Jurgen, because I'm sure he's helped us with the Sesko deal. Maybe he's spoken to the player and said, look, you got two projects there. He's probably weighed the pros and cons and say, look, Newcastle seems to be the right place for you for your development, but also you can really grow there and do what Isak did. Isak would be the prime example for Sesko, where he came from Real Sociedad. Wasn't the finished article, was very raw actually, but under Eddie Howe, playing for Newcastle and playing for the Newcastle faithful, it allowed him to become the player he is right now. So that's the blueprint to sell that project to Sesko, and that should win him over. United will try and throw the money bag in his face and say, "Look, you come here, you're gonna earn this amount of money, but what's it really about? Is it about your legacy or earning the big cash?" That is the big question that you have when you're trying to sign new players. So I think the Sesko deal will happen soon, and I don't think it has a direct link with us getting Isak because I think we'll get that Isak deal whenever. If they still can't find a replacement, we will still get this Isak deal before the end of this window. I think if they get the Cisco deal done very quickly, then it speeds us our process and we get the striker uh, sooner than later. So that's why I feel like, you know, we're not depending on this deal to be finalized, but we're depending it in order for us to fast track our signing in terms of Isak coming over to Liverpool. So yeah, it's a positive sign because I feel like they were running out of options. They were looking at players like Wissa and Watkins, which are still good strikers in my opinion. But Sesko, I guess, is that young prospect that is exciting a lot of fans across Europe. So I see why he has that appeal, and I think he's a good replacement for Isak for that Newcastle team. Before we move on, let's go through the chat. And then Mazzy says, "How much do you think we will pay for Isak, and how much are we going to get for Darwin? And do we still go for left wing as well?" So in terms of the Isak deal, I think we will pay around 135 million. I think that's the rate. I think it's just going to be below 140. I don't think it will reach quite 140. It'll be around 130, 135. I think that will be the grand total. So I would probably say like 125 plus 10, and then it ends up totaling to 135 million pounds. And in terms of Darwin Nunez, I've got two answers in my head. I'm hoping for 70 million, but I feel like the club will be reluctantly pleased to accept 50 because we're not getting a lot of interest for him. So let's put it in the middle. Hopefully we get 60 because I think 60 is still a good amount. And do we still need a left winger? Very interesting question. You say obviously yes because of the Diaz situation, but if we sign a left winger, does that block the path of Rio, which I'm sure a lot of us have high hopes? I think we should still sign a left winger, but that player has to be someone that isn't just a left winger. It has to be someone that can play across the front line. That way, you get a bit more versatility from the new signing, and of course, Rio will still have a pathway to one extent. So, I actually mentioned this in my last show as well. I think maybe if the club were a little bit smart, not saying they're not, but this is what I would do in this situation. I would completely change the focus of us signing a left winger. My idea would have been sign a left-footed right winger that has the ability to play left wing. So I'm not saying this is the player I want, but in terms of stylistically, someone like Madueke that Arsenal have bought. I know he's not the level we want, but I'm just like hear me out in terms of the scenario where we know he's left footed. He predominantly plays on the right, but plays on the left as well. So with that, you've got a player in my eyes that covers Salah. So he's a like for like replacement for Salah. And if he's a high profile, then he could end up being his long term successor. But at the same time, during this season, he covers for left wing, but also in the future when Rio is ready to explode or ready to come into the first team, then he goes over and challenges Gakpo for that left wing role. And that player still doesn't is not made redundant, if that makes sense. He's still a backup for right wing. So that would be the right profile for now and also for the long term. So that's what I would do if I was Liverpool. Um, but it might just be where they're signing someone that is right footed but plays both positions, which works as well to that extent. So let's see. Hopefully, we get that winger because I do feel like we need one more. Even if we get East, I feel like one more would be the right thing to do. Hooks 19 says, just my opinion, Shankly changed the colors to uh, make it be frightening. Green and cream were score low on the impact scale. Boring colors. I'd like a black kit. I've liked it when we've had black kits in the past. So yeah, it's a good point. I think white just you know, cream might come across as boring, but I feel like the cream kit we had in the mid-90s was one of my favorite kits. So I think in terms of intimidation, I get what you're saying because there's a bit of psychology involved in that as well. The black one, I guess, makes more sense because dark color, so you're just like it's easy on the eye, but also it could be appear as intimidating. But look, we don't need any. I feel like we could wear pink shirts and we'll still be intimidating in terms of how we're playing right now. So with all these players coming through the door right now, in terms of your Ekitike, your Verts, your Frimpong, Kirkes, it doesn't really matter what kit we're wearing. So as long as Liverpool are winning trophies, those shirts become iconic for the season rather than the appearance in the end. Raji Painting, we still Raji Painting. He said if Sesko goes to Newcastle, then we will definitely get Isak. But if United get him, then things will get very sticky for the Isak saga. I think what will happen if, for example, that Sesko deal doesn't happen for Newcastle or he goes over to United, I think we'll continue to pursue with Isak, and then that's their problem in the end. Where we'll get the deal done, we'll pay 135, 140 million, whatever they want. And it's their issue, their problem to try and find adequate replacement because we've given them time to figure that out. I feel like behind the scenes, there's something agreed. I really do. We're just trying to be the big brother in this situation to allow the little brother to sort himself out, but he's taking too long. So that's what I feel like the current situation is right now. So hopefully we do get some clarity. Maddie says, Ozzy, what's the latest news on Guehi? After we get a striker, we need a top class defender. I'll be speaking about Guehi very shortly in the show as well, so look out for that. Hooks 19 says, United are only a big club because they will get 500 million a year in revenue. The glory years created many Man United fans, which just about still buying merch sponsored by surely do willingly now. They still have an appeal worldwide because of the history that they've created over the last 20, 30 years. But on the field, yeah, it's not looking good. Of course, when they sign one or two players, the expectations of some of the fans goes a little higher. And of course, it's Amarin's first time where he's had preseason with his current squad, and of course, United will play in one game a week. So let's see what happens with United. I don't feel like they have the complete squad right now, but maybe under the window we can assess that and see where they stand. But I don't think they'll be challenging for major honors. I think even if they finish in the top half, that would be a good achievement for them. Ozan Kamat says we land Isak by the Community Shield game. Ozzy, I feel it. I think we do. I don't think he'll play in that game, but I think we will end up signing him next week. And then my prediction is that he makes the lineup for a debut in terms of the Premier League. So he will face Bournemouth in the opening game. That's my prediction. So yeah, let's see. Let's see how far we go in terms of Isak coming to Liverpool. Raji Penny said, if we get Isak, who, in my opinion, is the best striker in the world, the Swedish R9, then we don't need a left winger. I love that Swedish R9. I don't think I've ever heard that. If we need a left winger still, I think we'll still need a left winger. Of course, because you have to remember, Chiesa is expected to leave, so he's no longer an option for any of the wide areas. I think Elliot will stay because we have not heard much noise recently, but he could possibly leave as well. So therefore, you've got two more attackers leaving. So on paper, you've got Salah on the right with no backup directly. I know Frimpong will end up playing there a lot more this season, in my opinion, but he doesn't have a like for like replacement if you're writing two teams on paper. And then your number 10, you've got Verts and Szoboszlai, and then you've got Gakpo, and Gakpo doesn't have a challenger because it used to be Diaz. Some fans will say, well, why don't you put Rio there? I don't want Rio to be the direct backup for Gakpo at the start of the season. During the course of next season, we can eventually um, transition him into the first team. I've predicted that he'll be in the mix a lot more after January, where Mohamed Salah's on international duty, so we'll need another attacker in the squad. I think that's where we'll see him get involved in the first team. So rather than putting on so much pressure on him at the start of this season, let him learn his trade for the under 23s from now until December. And when January comes around, we can slowly embed him into the team. So got to play it very carefully, very sort of intelligently, where we don't rush him just because we see the promise. We don't want to knock his confidence, or we don't want it to be where we put too much pressure on a young kid and it doesn't end up happening the way we want it to happen. So we've got to be very careful, in my opinion. Billy said, bro, you didn't reach out. You on Twitter X. Um, I am on Twitter. I'm not sure if you reached out to me, but if you have, apologies. So my Twitter is at Aussie underscore FTP. So OZZIE underscore FTP. Feel free to message me. Apologies if I've missed any messages. I've not been on social that much last few days. So if you have, I do apologize. Hooks19 says loads of our players drift left, don't they? Yeah, it's not going to change because Ekitike does that as well. Isak does that. Um, and then Gakpo, but of course, those are two strikers that like to play in that way. That's why I feel like we've got like for like players in our two strikers because they like to play in a similar way. But I think Ekitike has a bit more to his game where Ekitike likes to drop deep and then become the link up player between the midfield and the strikers, where or attack, I should say. Whereas Isak likes to attack the channels a bit more, so he's a bit more on the front foot. That's why I've said that I feel like they could play together if there was an opportunity, or if we needed two strikers, or if we needed, Ekitike's sort of directness playing from the left hand side and then becoming more of a goal scoring asset in the team as well. So yeah, we do, but I feel like we have the right dynamics in the team as well. Hooks19 said 90s cream kit is my nemesis. Really? Please let me know why that is. For me, that's nostalgia for me because I think that was the first Liverpool shirt I owned. So for me, that's more of a childhood memory, more nostalgic that that was the first shirt I owned. Um, wish I still had it, but yeah, I don't have it anymore. But so for me, that holds a lot of weight. So I don't know if why you don't like it. Maybe it's the look of it, but for me, it's more sentimental reasons more than anything else. Billy, big up Billy says we absolutely need a left winger. Diaz must be replaced. The big three need replacing Nunez, Jota, and Diaz. Can't put in a start for me. Don't rate him highly at all. Rio needs space and time. He looks a baller. I agree. I think we still need an attacker, even if we get Isak. We don't have a lot of wide options. Like just the way I presented it, if Chiesa, let's say Chiesa and Elliot both leave, which I don't think is the right thing. I think one of them should stay, and if one wants to leave, that's fine. But ideally, I want both of them to stay, but that is not going to happen. So if it is Chiesa that ends up leaving, Elliot will be the backup for Salah technically, and then we've still got a vacant space in that left wing because it's just Gakpo. And Gakpo last season picked up an injury last season where he was out for about a couple of months. So we need to make sure we have the numbers, not just the quality. The numbers have to be there as well, in my opinion. So a left winger, to challenge Gakpo for that role has to be a priority. And also with Rio, I totally agree. We can't do what other clubs have done in the past where you've rushed that youngster through and unfortunately, their career fizzles out. I don't want Rio to be one of those players. I feel like he's got a lot of potential, but I feel like he's at the right club. Liverpool don't really fast track players in the first team for the sake of it. Maybe we've done it in the past because we didn't have much first team talent, but we're a very well oiled machine right now. So we've got the quality, we've got the numbers. So he's in a great squad or great situation even where when he plays, he won't feel that pressure to deliver, if that makes sense. But I feel like because he's on the verge of turning 17 this month, once he turns 17, we've got to let him play the under 23s, which is a big jump, by the way. 6 years gap, 23s, and he's 17 playing at that level. So I feel like he can definitely, um, learn his trade. But if he's making mistakes, there's no eyes, there's no limelight on him at all. That's where you can develop, learn the trick of the trade. You can learn from other players who are a bit more experienced than you. So the more game time he gets, the more he's going to learn, the more he's going to improve, in my opinion. So yeah, it's very, very important that we kind of take our time with Rio and not rush him to, being a first teamer right now. But he's definitely an option. I do feel like due to the quality he possesses, he's definitely going to be an option, in my opinion. So yeah, expect to see him play cup games. I'm very sure that he'll play cup games. But I think towards the latter stage of next season of this season coming, I do see him playing one or two games in the league and maybe in the Champions League as well. So yeah, expect him to be involved at some point. Miley says, Aussie, what's happening with Rodrygo? He's a baller. Maybe if somehow we don't get Isak that. Then we take Rodrygo, but I still want Isak. I'll speak about Rodrygo very shortly as well. Um, Billy says same. 96/97 was the first Liverpool shirt I owned. Yeah, so you're like me. That was the first kit I owned. So I didn't even buy a home kit. My first kit was the 96 one because I became a fan in 96 officially. Because before then, with like I didn't really have like family, a lot of family that were football fans. So my cousins were or they still are Liverpool fans, so I kind of followed their footsteps. But it was officially around that time. But before that, I just liked watching football. So I was like watching the Premier League on Match of the Day every week, and then with that, you start building more of an interest. And even though Liverpool weren't winning a lot at the time, but due to family alliance, I was like, all right, fine, that's my team. And yeah, here we are, still talking about Liverpool, like 30 years later, more or less. So yeah, that's how it's panned out in the end. Um, Other questions. Apparently, the new Awaken isn't white, it's a cream off-white color. I've heard that, so that's why I said earlier on, I think I need to see it in person because when I'm seeing it on pictures, I'm seeing it looks like it's white, it's a bit off-white. I kinda need to see it. If it's got more of a cream look, then I don't feel like it's gonna give me that United vibe. So that's something that I'm going to have to go to an Adidas store and try and figure out. But yeah, the home kit, I'm all for it. I'm gonna have to get one for my kids as well. So yeah, it's gonna be an expensive one, to say the least. Trust Moromo says, guys, you all okay today? Oh, good. Thank you. Hope you're doing good as well. Thank you for tuning in. Um, sorry, Hooks 9 says to Ozen come out. Yes, it's off white slash cream magnolia. So let's see. I need to see in person and to buy it. But I really like the home kit and the green one. From I know it's not officially unveiled, but we've seen it across social media. That yeah, that kit looks nice as well. It's got a bit of a retro look to it, but it still looks a bit outlandish, a bit out there, but I feel like it looks nice. So yeah, that's the one I'm gonna go for. Blue says, "Be good, bro." So Billy's the same as me, I guess, in terms of becoming a Liverpool fan that year. So yeah, pretty much aligned there. Uh, and then trusted Billy. I keep seeing Florian Wirtz. I asked new kits with a number 7. Is it confirmed already? Yeah. So all of the shirt numbers were confirmed on August 1st. So let me go through my phone. I'll give you. So there's a lot of players that received the shirt numbers. So let me see if I can remember top of my head. So Mamadashvili, he got the number 25. Verts got number 7. Kirkes got number 6. Bradley got number 12. Woodman got number 28. Frimpong got number 30. And I think that's it. So all of those players got new shirt numbers. So yeah, so that was confirmed on the 1st of August. And that is why we were waiting because of the partnership deal with Adidas. We had to wait for the night deal to conclude, and therefore that's when we can present the new squad numbers for the upcoming season. So yeah, I always thought he would get number 7. I feel like it just fits him to the T. So yeah, looking forward to it. Interestingly, I don't want to jump the gun, but let me know in the chat. What number do you think Isak would take? Would he take number 9 or would he take number 14? Because he currently wears number 14 for Newcastle. It might be for sentimental reason. Maybe Thierry Henry was his idol growing up and he wore number 14, so maybe he'd want that. And it would become available because we've got Chiesa potentially leaving as well. So could be an option. Definitely could be an option. Trusted Ekitike number. He is number 22. So fun fact, Ekitike, you spell it backwards, is Ekitike. 22 backwards is 22. So yeah, this guy's playing mind games with us. So yeah, he's number 22. So that number has also been confirmed. Raji Painting says Isak is a unique striker. He's nippy and he can dribble past players and score a lot of goals. Kane Ludaski and Haaland can't dribble. No, that's one of his strengths. The fantastic dribbler of the ball, very direct. His shooting, he's got a great range. He can smack those shots from like distance. We saw it. We saw it last season where he scored from outside the box. So for me, he's got such a great finishing range, header, volleys, something out of nothing, like spectacular. Like he can do everything. So for me, he's the complete striker. And he's one of those strikers where because he attacks the channels as well, it gives the opposition more of a headache because all our players around us can interchange and create more space in the box or rotate their positions. And they don't know where they're going, left, right, center. They're moving around thinking they're man marking, but they can't because everyone's just moving around, pass to move everywhere. So for me, yeah, I think he just completes our attack to another level. And I think if we're able to add Rodrygo, whew, we're sorted for years. Honestly, things that dreams are made of. Hopefully, it becomes reality because I feel like the Isak deal were just very, very close. The Rodrygo one, I don't know. Let me know what you feel in the chat in terms of the Rodrygo deal. Do you feel confident that it'll happen, or do you have your reservations? Don't get me wrong, I want it to happen. I'm not trying to say nope, that's not the guy for me. Even though he's not my first choice, I would like Barcola. That's my first choice. But in this situation where he is available, I would like him to be that signing for us. I have a feeling he might want to stay and have another crack at United at Real Madrid because I've heard that they are switching the formation a bit. They're going to play with two strikers up top, so maybe he's not going to get in the team, but he was going to challenge for Vinicius and Mbappe for that role. So maybe he gets more of a freer role. But the scenario is still the same, if that makes sense. So for his point of view, what is his ambition? Does he want to play week in, week out? Like if he's happy to be at Madrid, where he's on the bench but still wins trophies, then that could be his thing. Or he can challenge himself and come over to the Premier League, come over to Liverpool and play, for one of the most exciting teams in world football. So let's see. It's going to be very interesting. Like we'll speak about Rodrigo as well because I have heard some developments in terms of interest from Liverpool. So we'll talk about that shortly. Ekatike number is 22. Um, Arne Slot says 14 for Isak. Yep, that makes sense as well. So if we were to get Rodrigo, would Rodrigo take number 9? Possibility. I don't know if he's a number 9 in my head though. I feel like I'm a bit old school, but my number 9 needs to be a number 9. So but yeah, we'll see. Like if we get the players, who cares what the shirt number there? But those are the guys I want. Yeah, says Aussie. Big up Aussie and chat. Big up AR. Hope you're doing well. Trust Moromo says my order was Ekitika number 9. You may need to get a refund because he's not number 9. He's number 22. That's official. So you might have to speak to the shop that you bought it from, or if you bought it from an online store, you need to get your refund or get an exchange because he is number 22. Mazzy, he says, Aussie, the new kit looks absolutely gorgeous. Isak will take number 9 from Darwin when he goes. It's one possibility, but I don't know if that number 14 might have sentimental value. I think he wears it for Sweden as well, if I'm not wrong. So let's see. I would like him to get number 9 because that's just how I view it. My number 9 is the gunman of our team. So that's what I would want. But maybe he wants to, have that number for his own reasons and of course maybe for branding. Who knows? So yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens. Trusted Verts is number 7. That is correct. Hooks 19 says 85 when I started paying attention. Trust Maramo says Isak if we sign number 14. Okay. Guehi number 6. Oh, you can't get number 6 now. That's not available. So that has been taken by Kirkes. So Guehi would have to take. So what shirt numbers do we have? None of the first 10 are available apart from number 9. He's not taking number 9. That's for sure. No, I feel like Chelsea had. Was it Bu Bubadze, something like they had this defender and he wore number 9 and that really irked me. So yeah, hopefully that never happens from a Liverpool point of view. He'll have like number 14 available against number 15. Um, so he'll have to have a double digit. He won't have a single digit shirt number, but I'm not sure he'll be too fast about that. I think he just want to become a Liverpool player at one point. Mazzy says Verts number 7, Salah number 9, number 11, and Isak number 9 would be amazing. That would look dangerous for opposition teams. Yeah, they really will. Trust Maramo says so. Joe Gomez is not leaving. Then I don't think he is, unless there's been some news. If there is, please feel free to drop a comment in the chat if there has been any rumors. I haven't seen anything about Gomez leaving. The last I heard, he had a bit of an Achilles issue, which doesn't sound promising. Achilles issues aren't 1 or 2 weeks; they could be long-term injuries. So I don't know what his situation is. We should get some clarity in the coming weeks. Billy said my first choice is Liao, Rodrigo, then Gordon. I love the Liao shot because I've been speaking about Liao for about a couple of months, but I know a lot of fans aren't quite on board with that. If I was to say a top three in terms of my order, I'd go for Barcola. That's my first choice. Liao and then Rodrygo. Gordon doesn't even come into the mix. Where would Gordon be? Would he be fourth in that scenario? I don't know. Uh, Gordon's a good player, but I feel like if Gordon was to come into Liverpool, he's not overtaking Gakpo. And you said you don't rate Gakpo that highly. So if Gordon was to come, unfortunately, I think Gordon will be on the bench. He's not an upgrade. So I feel like whoever we're trying to sign should be someone that challenges Gakpo or is even regarded as an upgrade to Gakpo to an extent. So for me, it needs to be someone better, in my opinion. Next comment from Hooks19 says, I think the kids' green kit has an old school AS badge, unless the image was fake. That's what I've seen as well. It's got the leaf, isn't it? The Adidas one. So yeah, that's got that retro look to it. Um, yeah, I think the collar's got that. Do you remember that kit that we have with the candy sponsor on our shirt, the red one? And then we had that kind of collar. I think it's a similar collar as well. Of course, it's a green shirt, but yeah, that for me it has that kind of like nice retro look, but still looks modern as well. So it's a good balance in my opinion. Uh, Hookstani said, I like Ekitike's choice of number. Yeah, he was number 11 at his former club, so just times it by 222, isn't he? So yeah, that's how it goes. Um, Billy says Gay takes 15, or is that taken? I don't think 15 is taken. So yeah, that's definitely a possibility. I think he could be our next number 15, if he does join us in the end. Trust Maramo says, I am the only one worried about the short of defense covers. We need at least two centre backs. Let's be honest, guys. You're not. I've said it quite a few times. I want us to sign two. I think we'll end up with one, but I would like it to be two. I think I would like it to be Gay plus like a young and up and coming centre back. So we've been linked with the Parma defender in Leone. So a Leone and Guehi for me would be a great mix to have in our squad. So you've got someone that's young but can learn off Konate, Virgil, and Guehi, but still provide cover to an adequate level. So for me, I would love for us to get two centre backs. I just don't know if that's going to happen. Billy says, Gordon over Gakpo for me if we finally disagree, broski. Nah, it's all good. It's all football opinion. So, yeah, I'm just not fully on board. Maybe it's the thing where last year fans were very quick to say Gordon over Diaz and they would be willing to sell Diaz. I wasn't one of them. I wanted Diaz to stay for one more season at least because I thought he was a fantastic player. And look, he ended up having one of his best seasons. So, yeah, in hindsight, it worked out. But with Gordon, I don't know if he surpasses Gakpo. I think Arne Slot personally would favour Gakpo more, and I think if Gordon was a Liverpool player in this scenario, I mean he'd want him to be more of an impact player to come off the bench and use his pace to his advantage. So, but look, if it is where we can't find an adequate quality player and we have Gordon, the big question will be, are we blocking Rio's path? Because that's going to be a big talking point as well. I don't think we would, because I think Gordon can play on the right hand side, but yeah, it's going to be interesting nonetheless. I don't think it will be Gordon. And look, if Rio makes a few appearances next season and cooks, then there's no way Gordon's going to come for that left wing because it end up being Rio and Gakpo on paper. So we'll see. We'll probably get a bit. Well, I'm getting a bit too ahead of myself into the forecast in the future. But the future's bright. Let's be honest, it's very bright at Liverpool right now. Hooks19 says Rodrygo, Isak, and two centre backs are Cloud9. Rodgers is also a good team player. Yeah, Cloud9 will definitely be the case. Can't rule it out. It's just that maybe because we haven't been linked with a lot of centre backs, I just have the assumption that it's Guehi. And then from the coach point of view, maybe they see Gomez as the fourth choice. But in my opinion, he shouldn't be labeled as the fourth choice. He should be fifth choice. And then, if we need him, then he can, overtake that person in the fourth choice. But the reason I have him as fifth is because he'll be that defender that covers all three positions, i.e., centre back, left back, and right back. And we don't have to rely on him, if that makes sense. He's a bonus addition to our defense, if that makes sense. So that's why I think we need to get two. But whether we do or not remains to be seen. Billy, who's confirmed the numbers, big up yourself, Billy, he said, Kirkez, uh, he's not got number 7. He's got number 6. Uh, no, I think maybe I'm actually okay. I'm reading wrong. Apologies. So yeah, 6 is Kirkez, correct. 4 versus 7. 12 is Conor Bradley. 22 Ekitike. Mamadashvili 25. 28 is Woodman. Yep. And 30 is Frimpong. And forgot his name. Pekshi, so he's 41, and Trenioni has a new number, which is 42. So yeah, thank you, Billy, for confirming that. AR says big up Aussie and chat, big up AR. Um, and Billy said other numbers either available potentially up for grabs depending on exits include 12. No, 12 is Bradley's now, isn't it? So 12 is not available. 13, no one takes 13. I was watching something there a few days ago. Apparently, 13 is not even a number. Like you can't pick 13. I don't know if that's true. Let me know in the chat if there's any player in the Premier League that is number 13. I don't think they've just discontinued number 13 or it's not available. I think it's just usually superstition. People don't pick number 13 because we got it as an unlucky number. I don't think it's officially not a number that's available, if that makes sense. But yeah, I don't think that's the case. 15, 16, yeah, I think that sounds right. 19 would be Elliot, I guess, yeah, 21, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. How much that really has now? 27, that is available, I believe, yeah. And 30 is Spring Pongs. So not all of them are available now, but yeah, there is a good sort of wide range of numbers there. Osman Kabak said, would you be content with Osman Diomande instead of Gay or Z? You know what's funny, Osman Kabak? I think a couple of months ago, I said Diomande as the number one target. So my answer to that would be yes. Dreamland scenario would be both. And I'm being greedy, yeah. Yes, I know I sound very greedy there. But I wouldn't mind either. And the reason I say either is because Diomande has the ability, in my opinion, to be one of the top defenders. He's got the the traits that Konate has in terms of being very strong, very dominant in the air, but very fast, very quick, in terms of making tackles, and his distribution is good as well. Diomande can play in a back three, in a back four. He even played as a DM for Sporting Lisbon at times last season. So he's a player that, I feel like he's a great backup on paper for Konate. And look, we don't know the future of Konate. So if Konate leaves, then you've got a player that is an adequate replacement for him, like for like. We're not gonna have to change the way we play, and Virgil will have a partner that he can kind of rely on as well. So I would be happy with Diomande. If we can't get the Gay deal, and I said this last week as well, I'll cheaply go for Diomande because that deal hasn't been concluded by Palace. So if Palace don't want to play ball, we'll take their primary target. Just like we did with Newcastle, we do Ekitike, we'll do it with Palace. I'm not trying to sound arrogant or cocky when I say that, but those two players in Ekitike and Diomande, we've had interest in the past. So they're on our shortlist. But because of, for example, with the Isak deal, that was our primary target. But Newcastle tried to play us, but we're going to play them, I guess. And then with Palace, they're trying to ask for too much money. So that's the issue regarding that deal being concluded. But I wanted Diomande as our first choice to come into our squad. So yeah, I'd be happy with that, to be honest with you. But I like Gay as well because even though he might not excel in areas of his game in comparison to Konate or Diomande, um, he's very experienced. He's a leader on the pitch as well. He's versatile, both-footed. Let's not forget, he's both-footed, and he can also play in the back three and the back four. So I feel like he would be the perfect addition to our squad, the right balance. He's not superior to Van Dijk or Konate, but playing alongside him, I think he can form good partnerships with either Van Dijk or Konate, or even when he's fit, even with Joe Gomez, because they played together for England as well. So they can definitely. That's a good quartet of defenders there that can play with each other, and I think it's a great balance of experience as well. So that's why I want Guehi. Dreamland talking, I'd want both Guehi and Diomande, but I don't know that's gonna happen. So maybe I'm just getting ahead of myself there. Um, Billy says, big up to AR. Hawks 19 says a lot of players go for other numbers that add to 9 because it's a Tasman number. Yeah, that's true. Billy loves number 13. Big up yourself. I don't know too many that do, but yeah, big up yourself. Trusted my signing wish list is Isak, Guehi, Fofana, and a young centre back with high ceiling. The January window we sign a DM. I think the DM will be next summer. I think we'll go for a big signing next summer, whether it's a Baliba or Morton. It's going to be that type of player. Uh, Isak, agree with Gay, agree with Fofana. I wouldn't mind. Um, he'll still be a bit of a risk. I don't know if he'll adapt to the league. I would have reservations about him, but he would be a more viable option because he can play on the left and he can play on the right. So yeah, I do get that one. And the young centre back as well. That makes sense for me as well. So I agree with that. Hawks 90 says Cody is extra special in my honest opinion. I like Cody. I feel like he's not getting the respect or the appreciation from our fans, but I think Diaz was in the same boat. So I feel like Cody's a good player. But if we get Rodrygo, it's going to be a great battle. And I feel like you need to sign players like that in order to get the best out of everyone. And I don't feel like that's an issue. I feel like you need to challenge yourselves in these kind of scenarios. And the best case for Liverpool is that these players will play a lot of games. All of them will play. So it's not like one's going to be benched for days, is going to get frozen out. He will play. Everyone will get their fair share of games next season. So for me, yeah, I'm excited, and I'm excited to see who we sign for the left wing because I do believe we will sign another attacker for that position. Ozan Kabak says the last player to win 13 was Adrian. Yeah, let's say let's say the better Ozan Kabak. Yeah, I think that should be enough to sway everyone away from that. If you get another good player that takes the number 30 and then changes that perception, then that's another thing. The best number 13 that I can remember, feel free to let me know in the chat as well, is probably Balak. I feel like Balak was the one that was really good and made that number seem decent, I guess, to that extent. I can't remember. Oh, Danny Murphy, from a Liverpool point of view, he had number 13 and he was a master on the free kick, so he was a decent number 13. But otherwise, I can't really think of anyone else. Hooks 19 says, I don't watch live matches, so I am superstitious. Wow, you don't watch live matches. Oh, fair enough. Um, I get a buzz from watching live matches. That's why I do watch songs as well. But even other sports, I get more of a buzz watching it live. So I hear you though. Everyone's got their ways of doing things. Um, so yeah, big up for letting us know. So let's move on to the next rumor. Uh, and that is Darwin Nunez. So let's talk about him. So we've already touched on him a little bit. So with this Isak, transfer getting closer and closer, unfortunately, one player will need to part ways and find a new club, and that looks like it's Darwin Nunez. I've said it many times in the show before. Uh, this is the time for Darwin to move on and continue his career elsewhere, and it simply hasn't worked out with Liverpool. But I think he could be a success somewhere else. I'm not going to say he's a rubbish player or anything like that. I think he'll just suit somewhere else with his current skill set. So in the last 24 hours, teams have made official approaches. So it's kind of feels like a domino effect. I don't think it really aligns with each other, but because we're making some sort of progress with the Isak deal, and Newcastle are making progress for their replacement for Isak in Sesko, and with Isak potentially joining, it means someone needs to leave our club because they will be surplus to requirement, and that ends up being Darwin Nunez. So it feels like there's something has made things, move around a little bit more. So the current rumor is that Al Hilal are working on agreeing a deal with Darwin Nunez first. So they're currently discussing personal terms and salaries and all that sort of stuff before they will submit an official bid to LFC because they want clear indication that the player wants to join the Saudi team. As it stands, it looks like Darwin Nunez is open to leaving Liverpool, and Liverpool are trying to work on a deal to find a solution for him. But also today, AC Milan also made contact with Liverpool regarding a possible transfer. But I don't know what kind of package they'll be willing to offer because they're not generally high spenders. So the question is, where is his next destination? For me, and I've said it before, I think he'll end up in Saudi, and I think the club that will end up signing him is Al Hilal. I thought it might have been Al Nassr because of their coach, which is Jorge Jesus, who used to be his coach at Benfica. but maybe they have recruited players. I'm not too sure. I'm not really kept track of their signings, so maybe they're not in need of a striker right now. But for Nunez, he'll play in a league that is growing. It might not be the best league, but it's a league where big talent or good level players are moving over there, so it should improve the quality of the league in years to come. And I think he'll absolutely cook there. Honestly, the I feel like it'll be like playground football for him, where he's just running around the ball, smashing the ball inside the goal, left, right, and center. And of course, he'll be earning a big paycheck that could secure his retirement fund. So should tick all the boxes. And from a Liverpool point of view, of course, we will hopefully gain a good substantial amount of money. I'm thinking 50 million plus. That is my minimum requirement. But if it's 60, 70, 80 million, we're laughing to the bank. So in this scenario, for me, everyone is a winner. So let's see how this one plays out. And the next rumor, we're getting some further development is in regards to Tyler Morton. So the last few days, there has been initial talks between both Liverpool and Lyon, and it's been revealed that a deal has been agreed in the region of £15 million for Tyler Morton. So the current situation is that he's traveling today or tomorrow for um, a medical, and it could be officially announced in the next few days. So, thoughts on the move and the transfer fee? Is it good bit of business for me? I think last year, I'm using last year as context, but I maybe shouldn't. But last year we did have a bid of around 20 odd million for from Bayer Leverkusen, which we got rejected. I think 50 million is fine. It's a good amount of money. Um, for a player that, let's be honest, he's not going to be involved in the first team mix. Even though I do believe he's talented, but I think we've got so much quality in our squad, he's not going to get much game time. So I think it's a great move for the player where he goes over to a different league, but he's playing for one of the well-known, established French teams in Lyon. So I think it's a good move all round. 15 million, we get a good decent amount of money. Lyon get a good player in the end. So yeah, another win-win situation. So looks like he's off to Lyon. So we wish him all the best and hopefully he does well for his new club. Now, let's speak about Rodrygo. So, the only development that I've seen the last couple of days that apparently Liverpool has spoken to his entourage, and the forward has approved an informal offer of personal terms. So, they've probably spoken numbers, and he's like, "Yeah, that sounds good to me." So let's take that next step and let the clubs flesh out a sort of a deal or financial agreement. So, my thoughts on that, these sort of rumors, you always got to take it with a pinch of salt because I've heard this for like the last week. I don't know if there's any truth to it. It seems to be a bit of a slow burner, so I don't know. I think he is regarded as a target, but our focus is maybe Isak and then Gay, and then we get him towards the latter stages of this window because we've got a left wing and Gakpo, so we're not relying on. We're not. It's not like we're missing someone for that player. We don't have a player for that role. We do have someone. It's just that we need to add depth once the window closes. So for me, Rodrigo should definitely be a target for that left wing role, and we should definitely find a replacement for Diaz. For me, I don't want it to be where we're short-handed in attacking options. I feel like we need to have as many players available as possible. So for me, if it's a deal that can be made, then it should happen very, very soon. So hopefully we can do that in due course. So the next rumor, so in regards to Marc Guehi, so the update we got today is that Crystal Palace have set a fee of £50 million. That's the amount they want. And apparently the club chairman, Steve Parish, is refusing to lower that price tag. Liverpool have already apparently, according to reports, made a bid worth £40 million for Guehi, which has been rejected instantly by Palace. But according to Ornstein a few hours ago, the deal between Mark Guehi and Liverpool is accelerating. So that indicates that the talks are currently ongoing and we could get a resolution. So my thoughts, I feel like we can get a deal done for Guehi very soon as well. If I was to make a prediction, I think we settle on 45 million. I think we'll meet them halfway and then we get the deal done for 45 million, which, I don't think we need to haggle for 5, 10 million, to be honest. Of course, they'll be like, you ain't got that kind of funds, so how can you talk? But I feel like from a business point of view, I think the reason why we've said 40 in our minds because of his contractual situation where he's got 1 year left. But I do believe he's a player that's worth 45, 50 million, especially in this day and age where you're buying defenders that aren't even that great for like 60 million pounds. So when I'm saying I'm thinking of like Delit, who hasn't even delivered that many nights. So for me, Marc Guehi is Premier League proven. He's an England international. As I mentioned earlier on, both footed, can play back three, back four, be a great cover, great foil for Konate, Virgil, and Joe Gomez. So as a quartet, I think we've got a great balanced midfield, centre back position there, in my opinion. So yeah, I would be all over this, and I really hope there's some truth to this. If Ornstein's saying is a deal is accelerating, that's very, very positive sign. So maybe we'll hear some official news in the coming days. And the final rumor of today is Ibou Konate. So the rumor, every day is different, but I always feel like it's recycled information that he wants to stay at Liverpool and that he's very happy at the club. Should we be surprised by that? No, because whenever we see him on the field or off the field in terms of the social media, footage that they show of preseason and the training, always seems to be, in great spirit and very happy to be at the club. But we're a club that's on the up. We're winning trophies. We're signing big, big players. Like he's not been part of this kind of window ever at the club, and neither of any of the other players in the squad either. So this is a very special time for Liverpool, and he would be a part of that mix. And in the future, he'll be one of the main guys in the defense because I feel like he would have a great role in our defense whenever Virgil van Dijk, departs from the club. So it's a no-brainer for me. But then, players have different ambitions, and maybe he just wants to challenge himself in a different league and play in La Liga or play for Real Madrid, as the destination that he's being linked with right now. So for me, you know, if he doesn't want to stay, it's just his own accord, own preference that he wants to move over to Madrid. I don't think there's nothing we can do because we're a team that's on the up, and we clearly are. Next season, imagine if we win multiple trophies, like that should keep him on board. But players are individuals; they have their own way of thinking. So hopefully, we'll get some clarity in regards to Konate. I really hope we get a new contract for him, and he signs a new contract. More importantly than not, I'd love for it to be by the end of this month that he confirms that he's staying at the club. That would be the perfect scenario. But I think it's going to play out a little bit in this coming season, which is annoying. But if the outcome is that he stays, then it's not too bad. But yeah, we just have to wait and see. Hopefully, it doesn't affect our season, which I don't think it will. But he needs to stay focused because if we end up signing on Marc Guehi, then if he's not on top of his game, Marc Guehi is more than adequate enough to displace him in the team. Not that I feel like he's a better player. I think Konate is a better player than Marc Guehi. But if you're not playing to the standard that we expect, things have to change. Players need to be rotated. So that's something to kind of look out for next season. And that is the final rumor. I can see we've got a few comments here, so I'm just going to read them out before we close the show. Um, Hooks 19 said, good idea of doing Monday. Yeah, he's a player I really like. I've been speaking about him for about a year or two now, so really good profile. I think he would be a great signing for us. Let's see what happens. Generals Mark 1, big up yourself. He says, according to Delos, the Being Times, Sesko is going to Newcastle, reported 15 minutes ago. Big up yourself. Yeah, it seems like that is going to be his likely destination, which I think is a good signing for Newcastle United. I think it's the best move that he could have chosen between Newcastle and Manchester United. I don't think Manchester United would have been the right move for him. Hooks United said local is source normally general. Yeah, that's true. LFC 20, big up yourself. He says, do you think with Nunez is going, it paves the way for Rodrygo? It kind of will, I guess. Obviously, like for like, it doesn't, but because Diaz went first, that's a spot available for left wing, and then now Nunez is going, so that vacates a spot as well. And of course, unfortunately, with Diogo Jota passing, that's a spare position in our squad as well. So Ekitike has pretty much taken the Jota role in the squad, and then you've got Darwin Nunez who's on the verge of leaving. That would be on paper Isak's replacement, and then you've got Rodrygo coming in to replace Diaz in the squad. So that's why I feel like all three of these players need to come in, and then you've got Gay replacing Kwanzaa in the defense. So yeah, we have to replace these players like for like, in my opinion. Hook9 said McTominay went from United mediocrity to Serie A hero. I would expect him to do the same. I think he would have really cooked in Napoli. I think that club would have been a match made in heaven, honestly, because they're so passionate over there and the way they support the players, especially their attackers. Yeah, he would have been treated, in very high regards. So it would have been a great, great move for him there. Unfortunately, the financial package didn't meet our requirements, and they weren't able to push the envelope for that signing to happen. So yeah, unfortunately, it never happened for him. But we definitely have some other suitors for Nunes. So hopefully, he can get his move eventually this summer. Hooks19 says, nice change of scenery for Tyler. Best of luck to him. Personally, I would have kept him for the second team. I would have, minded him to be there because a lot of fans have a lot of high hopes on Bajtic, which I don't because he's always injured, in my opinion, and I don't feel like he can be relied upon. So with Morton, even when he played in preseason the other day, he looked quite good shape. Good passing range, looked a decent, option for us into next season. So if he wanted to stay, I wouldn't have been, annoyed about it because he would have been fifth or sixth choice. But maybe, with him going, maybe it opens the door for another midfield signing. Maybe I'm getting a bit too excited there. But who knows? Because we need to make sure we have the numbers. Mash, I think he's still injured, so I don't expect him to leave. I think he'll probably be in the squad at to some extent this coming season. And then yeah, I don't think we'll sign him midfield. I'd love to, but I don't think that'll happen. So yeah, we'll see. But yeah, I wish him the best as well. I think whenever pulled upon, he's definitely done a decent job for us. Hooks19 said if we want Rodrygo, I believe he'll come and relatively cheap. Uh, can't let get him. Tottenham won't get him. I know Son's leaving, so they need to find a adequate replacement. But I don't think Rodrygo would be enticed or appealed by a move to Tottenham. No shade on Tottenham. I just don't think it's a project he wants because he wants to play for one of the heavyweights. That's how he's looking at it. So I don't think it comes into that mix there. Hooks Nice says almost don't want to talk about the game deal. It's so badly managed, so stupid. Fingers crossed. Ornstein says it's accelerating, so that gives me a bit of positivity that we'll get some developments in the coming days. So yeah, hopefully that will happen. So that is the final comment, and that is the end of the show, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you to everyone getting involved. Thank you for your engagement as always, guys. Shouts to Spirit of LFC fans. Shout out to AR. Shout out to Hooks19. Shout out to Bowl. Shout out to Ozan Kabak. As always, be yourself. Shout out to who else do we have? Shout out to Stewart's. Shout out to Mazzy. Shout out to Billy. Shout out to Trust Maramo. Shout out to Roger Painting. Shout out to who else do we have? To Genesis Marks One, big up yourself. And shout out to LFC20. If I missed you, apologies, but shout out to everyone for getting involved today. If you haven't already, please don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. In terms of upcoming show, I will be doing two back-to-back watch-alongs, which doesn't happen a lot, but gotta make the most of it. So we'll be going live from 5 to 5 UK time tomorrow for the Liverpool versus Bilbao match, and then the following match, same teams, but of course different personnel, will take place between from 8 o'clock. So then we'll have a short break, catch a breather, get a few snacks in there, and then we'll start and watch the second game tomorrow. So two watch alongs tomorrow. If there's any breaking news in regards to transfers, then I will do a follow-up transfer show. So you might get three shows on the bounce tomorrow. So yeah, hopefully, you'll be tuned in tomorrow for the watch along. So yeah, please, if you haven't already, please don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. So that is it for today, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Take care, stay safe. I hope to speak with you all very, very soon. Goodbye.